People, since the summer movie season is over, I forgot to do this early, but hey, just go with it. We're going to be taking a look at the Expendables 3. It was the last one in the series, in this 80s, in this homage to the 80s action movie trilogy. From what the trailer says, the last ride. So, does it hold up? And is it a worthy conclusion? Let's find out. Guys, welcome. Hello guys, I'm Ty, which means Return City. Anyway, welcome back to the perfect, the good, the bad, and the worst movie reviews. Now, I know that the summer movie season is over, and I forgot to do this one for a very long time. So, let's just get right into it. The Expendables, all three of them, have remained as the highest grossing film series in this trilogy. The first movie, now I've seen the first movie, and I've only seen bits of it, but I have saw most of it, and it was pretty and it was good. And it was good in that, and I did appreciate them trying to go for you know, making homage to the 80s movies and that, and that's actually pretty awesome. As for the second movie, that's actually my favourite out of the films, and I do enjoy that movie. That's because it has a lot more action and it also has a lot more humour, which many people don't like about these movies, is the lack of action, which I don't mind. I mean, who could blame them? But yeah, now we're into the third and the supposed final, because like I said, in the trailer it says get ready for one last ride, if you guys check the trailer for yourself. Now to be fair, I was a little skeptic going into this one, as critics have been saying that the movie has been that this movie's probably at 33% on Rotten Tomatoes. I might be wrong, but you guys just check. So yeah, what I just showed you, yeah, this didn't do very well. So did the first two films in the series. So, what do I think of it? And it's not terrible of that. It really isn't. But in my opinion, and many people might agree, it's the weakest out of the trilogy. It's not like the worst movie ever made, because it isn't. It really isn't the worst movie. But it really could have been worse, far worse. So, what's the plot of this movie? Well, after getting a comrade played by Wesley Snipes from a trainer, they go on a mission. They go on a mission on some sort. But one of their Expendables gets injured by Mel Gibson, who plays the bad guy. And Stallone thinks that he'll be in danger, and so he decides to get new people that are thirsty for blood. So he goes after new Expendables. However, when they get kidnapped, it's up to him and his old gang to go get them back, along with Antonio Banderas. You know, you guys think I've spoiled the film, but I didn't, because everything's in the trailers. You can even go check the trailers for yourselves. Everything makes sense. Go check the trailers. I'm not kidding. I did not spoil this movie. Anyway, if I did, I would spoil the climax. Well, more on that later. So, on to the characters. Now, let's start with Sylvester Stallone. He was okay. I'll say that. But you could sort of tell that he's probably a little tired of the, I don't know, but he did a good job for what he had to do in this movie. And yeah. Now, support. Now, many may. Yeah, but he's just good. Now on to the others, the supporting characters. So the supporting cast for this movie aren't terrible. They're morely a mixed bag of sorts. Now, don't get me wrong. The original cast for this movie is pretty darn good. They still hold up, even you know, they're older than that. Okay, let's not talk about that. But yeah, they do a pretty good job. But the problem with their characters is that they don't do anything in this movie. I mean, the first act of the movie has them doing stuff. But until the last 20 to 30 minutes of the movie, they don't do anything. They just sit around and while we got these new characters. You know, people, I don't mind an idea of the new Expendables, but I think that's probably if it was its own movie, if it was like a reboot of that. The new characters, like I said, is a good thing for this third installment. I mean, you do need new characters for these films. But the problem with them is, you don't care about them. You just don't care. You don't care what happens to them. You don't get to know about them. I mean, yeah, you do when they sort of recruit them. And, you know, that recruitment scene is okay. But you just don't care. And the problem with it is that the first two movies were only an hour and a half. This is 2 hours. The movie clocks in at 2 hours and 7 minutes if you count the credits. But still, this movie is 2 hours. We need character development, for God's sake. And you know, and I don't mind, and I didn't mind them doing character development. But like I said, you don't care about these characters. You don't care what happens to them. And the only character from the new Expendables that you actually care about is probably Tony Banderas. Many people don't like him, but I sort of liked him. When I watched this with my family, I sort of like it. I really did enjoy his character, and he was the best part of this movie. Actually, no, second, because the other one is Mel Gibson. I can't describe it. Many people who don't like this movie, and many people find it okay, say that Antonio Banderas is the best part of this movie, and who can't blame them? Mel Gibson does bring anything. Like, you sort of tell he was having fun with this movie. You can sort of tell he was the only one who's actually, you know, and that. He was funny and he was pretty menacing as the villain, and I liked him for that. So. Sorry guys, my mom was moving. And anyway. But yeah, Mel Gibson is the best part of this movie, and he does have a lot of energy. He's the only one out of them, I think, who has a lot of energy, and that. And oh yeah, Wesley Snipes. Yeah, well, he's like the original cast. He just doesn't barely do anything in this movie. So yeah, now on to everyone wants to talk about the action, the meat of the movie. The action is okay in this movie. I mean, the first two movies didn't have perfect action because they were a little shaky cam. But most of the time, but this movie is PG-13. The first two movies were R-rated. I know. This is like a 12A of sorts, like a PG-13. And I heard from someone that it was originally an R-rated sort of thing, but I don't know. And not to mention, it's because of the shaky cam that you just don't see what's going on. And I don't really like that. Most people don't like that too. Like I said, the action is not terrible, but I want an action movie where we just have good action, where we could just have good and interesting action sequences. So yeah, so with that said, what do I think of the Expendables 3 as a whole? It's not terrible. Like I said, it's not terrible. It's okay. But in my opinion, most people might agree, it's the weakest of the three. Some people might not agree with me, but hey, it's just my opinion. If you guys don't agree with me, oh, then it's just your opinion. I don't hate you for it. But the good stuff is that the original cast do come back. Antonio Banderas and Mel Gibson are the best parts of this movie, and that's it. That's it. The bad stuff is that you don't care about these characters. The old cast don't do anything until the climax of the movie, and the action in this movie is too shaky. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention the climax of the movie between Sylvester Stallone and Mel Gibson. Well, it was disappointing because it's only 2 minutes. It's only 2 minutes, and it's just shaky. And it's two, yeah, and it's also quick cuts. So yeah, the Expendables 3 is not like the worst thing. I mean, the action is not the weakest, but you don't care about these characters. So for that, I'm gonna have to give this a mediocrity rating. Many people also want to know what I think of the Expendables. I really don't mind it. I really don't mind them making an Expendables spin-off. Because many people might find them making a movie about girls taking over a pretty stupid idea. Because that's what the movie's going to be about. A bunch of girls being together. I sort of don't mind that. Because most girls are always the damsels in distress. And they always are. They always get kidnapped and that. So it's nice to see them trying to make the girls you know, the heroes this time around. I mean, I don't mind seeing girls in distress. I really don't mind it. That doesn't really bother me. But I think it's time that we let the girls have their due. Let them take over the big screen adaptation. Let them take over it. Let them take over it, because we mostly see men taking over it. So I think it's nice to see it. Will I see the movie? Not really. I wouldn't really see it. But it is good to see them have their own film. So I could say, well, yeah, I don't mind it. Now, before we send off, I would like to make something very clear. Before I leave, I want to talk about what I think of all three movies as a whole. They're good. They are. The first was not perfect, but it's pretty fun. The second was the most fun out of them all, and it's probably my favourite out of them all. The third isn't terrible. It's not terrible, but in my opinion, it's the weakest out of them all. So as a whole, the trilogy isn't terrible. It isn't. It's a pretty longer trilogy, and it's actually one of the better trilogies we've had this year. I don't know. But yeah, the Dark Knight trilogy is pretty darn good. But overall, this trilogy isn't terrible. I mean, it starts off good, then it slowly digests into mediocrity. I mean, you had the first, if you talk about what my favourite to least favourite of these movies are, the first will be Expendables 2, the second will be Expendables 1, and then the third will be Expendables 3. That's how much, so yeah, the second is my favourite out of them all. And yeah, they're just not, so yeah, the trilogy isn't that, so yeah, the trilogy isn't that perfect, but I do enjoy it for my own time. So yeah, now, see you guys, and I'd like to also inform you that my Guardians of the Galaxy review won't be coming out, since, well, just can, yeah, so yeah, see you guys. Oh yeah, one thing, one thing, people, Harrison Ford is awesome, also in this movie. See you guys.